Ein Sowjet zeigen, soll er vor sich hertragen und wir werden in unserem Zeichen wieder siegen.
By 1944, the leader of Nazi Germany, Adolf Hitler's shadow stretched across nearly all of Western Europe and revolutionized warfare. For years, millions had lived under tyranny, under fear, and under the weight of occupation. But across the Channel, the Allies prepared for something greater than invasion. They faced a monumental task: to liberate an entire continent. What followed was more than a war for territory. It was a revolution in strategy, a reaction to oppression, and the beginning of reforms that would reshape the global order. June 6, 1944. As dawn broke over the English Channel, thousands of Allied ships filled the horizon. Operation Overlord, the largest amphibious invasion in history, was about to begin. More than 156,000 troops, Americans, British, Canadians, and soldiers from occupied nations prepared to cross the Channel to liberate Europe. At their head stood General Dwight D. Eisenhower, Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force. In his Order of the Day speech, he told them,
"The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you."
At 6:30 a.m., the first landing craft struck the beaches of Normandy, codenamed Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. Above, more than 11,000 planes filled the skies. Paratroopers from the 82nd and 101st Airborne and the British 6th Airborne had already dropped behind enemy lines to secure bridges and roads.
German positions on the shore.
We're told to assemble with all our kit, everything, and we scrambled down the nets at the side of the ship into the landing craft.
The cost was immense. On Omaha Beach, American forces faced deadly resistance and heavy losses, but by nightfall, the Allies had gained a foothold on French soil. D-Day was more than an invasion. It was a revolution in modern warfare, land, sea, and air working as one. Thousands gave their lives, but their courage began the liberation of Western Europe. In the days after D-Day, the beaches of Normandy became the front line of freedom. What began as a desperate landing turned into a relentless push across France. Allied forces poured men and machines onto the continent, over 1 million troops within weeks. General Omar Bradley commanded the American advance, while Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery led British and Canadian forces in the north. The Allies faced fierce resistance. Every village, every hedge, and every road was a battlefield. The Battle of Caen raged for weeks, and the breakout of St. Lo came at a terrible cost. Yet, with determination and overwhelming coordination, the German lines began to crumble. By August 25, 1944, Allied troops and members of the French resistance entered Paris. Crowds filled the streets, cheering as the French flag rose once again above the city.
Today the free world may see Paris again, and Paris rejoins the free world.
General Charles de Gaulle declared,
Paris, Paris outragé, Paris brisé, Paris martyrisé, mais Paris libéré.
December 1944. Europe lay locked in one of the coldest winters in decades. The Allies believed Nazi Germany was finally breaking, its armies battered, its resources nearly spent. But deep inside the Ardennes forests of Belgium, Adolf Hitler prepared one last desperate gamble, a counter-strike meant to turn back the war in his favor. Before dawn on December 16, German forces unleashed a massive surprise attack. In the pre-dawn darkness, more than 200,000 soldiers, backed by tanks, armored vehicles, and waves of artillery pushed through the Ardennes, a region so thick with trees and snow that the Allies believed a major offensive was impossible. They were wrong. The sudden assault shattered the thinly held American lines, throwing units into confusion and driving a deep wedge into the Allied front. On the maps at headquarters, this sudden protrusion would be known as the Bulge, giving the battle its enduring name, the Battle of the Bulge. Across the front, American troops fought fiercely to slow the German advance. Small groups of infantrymen had crossroads, bridges, and frozen hillsides, buying precious time. In the town of Bastogne, the besieged 101st Airborne Division found itself surrounded, cut off from reinforcements and supplies. Still, they held their ground. When the Germans demanded their surrender, Acting Commander General Anthony McAuliffe replied with a single unforgettable word: nuts. For days and nights, the men in Bastogne and along the front endured brutal conditions. Temperatures far below freezing, snowstorms that blinded visibility, and the constant thunder of German artillery. Ammunition ran low. Food was scarce. Many soldiers lacked proper winter clothing. Yet, they refused to yield. Then at last, the weather cleared. With blue skies above the Ardennes, Allied air power rode back into action. Fighters and bombers struck German columns, supply lines, and armored units with devastating force. General Patton's Third Army broke through to relieve Bastogne, and the momentum of the battle shifted. By January 1945, Hitler's final offensive had collapsed. The Germans had lost tens of thousands of soldiers, along with tanks, fuel, and aircraft they could never replace. The Battle of the Bulge, his last great gamble, became the beginning of the end. From the frozen forests of the Ardennes, the Allies surged forward once more, over the Rhine, toward their final victory in Europe. On May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered to the Allies, Britain, United States, and the Soviet Union, after the Soviets, as key Allied partners, seized Berlin and forced Germany's collapse, bringing the war in Europe to an end. And then on August 6, 1945, a U.S. plane named Enola Gay dropped little bomb in Hiroshima, Japan, and then in Nagasaki on August 9, 1945, ending the war in the Pacific, which officially ended World War II. World War II was a revolution in warfare, society, technology, and global power. Tanks, planes, and soldiers worked together like never before, guided by modern technology such as radar, which could detect enemy aircraft, and sonar, which could track ships from miles away, giving armies a crucial edge. In the aftermath of war, reform emerged as the world wanted justice and change. The Nuremberg trials held Nazi leaders accountable for crimes against humanity, especially the Holocaust, the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews and millions of others, setting an example for international law. Societies also began recognizing the contributions of women, minorities, and ordinary citizens, advancing equality. Guided by the Atlantic Charter, lasting reforms followed, including the creation of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which committed the world to peace, freedom, and human dignity. Civilians, especially women, stepped into roles once considered impossible, helping keep nations running. As for the reactions, meanwhile, the United States and the Soviet Union raced to develop nuclear weapons, shifting the balance of power and setting the stage for the Cold War.